What's going on? Hope you're having an amazing week so far. As always, you can follow me on Instagram at DreamRare. That's at DreamRare. You can follow me on Twitter at Legendary Energy. Check out my new podcast. It's called Rare Talk Podcast. It's on most podcast forums, whatnot. I have a new clothing line at dreamrare.com. I'm going to wait about 5 or 10 more seconds for people to get in. And as always, my website is legendary.vision. That's probably the easiest thing to find all my links, the podcast, the store. It's at legendary.vision. So we'll give it 5 more seconds for people to come in. Hello, Steven, Matthew, Abel. I like that. I can say hi to a few people before I start. Thanks for joining. I want to tell a story that is untold on social media. You won't find many journalists talking about it. You won't find many politicians or celebrity or media sources online or on TV talking about it. And that is the untold story of how the media, celebrity culture, and politics have evolved and changed forever. Something that nobody wants to talk about. Me personally, I know legislation, of course, is very important, but I'm more interested on a personal note in the philosophy, the spirituality, and the psychology behind a lot of these things. And what happened this election is something that no one wants to talk about. You're hearing Trump this, blah, blah, blah. Russia did that. They did this. It's InfoWars. It's Alex Jones. It's this and that. But the real story that they don't want you to know, they certainly don't want you to know how powerful you are. They certainly don't want you to know this is the most free time ever in every single industry. This is the greatest time to be alive. This is the only time ever where we've had a shot to be on a level playing field of a billionaire or somebody who was born into great wealth or, into the media industry. I'm going to go through each one, the media, celebrity culture, and politics, and explain how they've evolved and changed forever, and nobody's talking about it. So when it comes to the media, the real reason the mainstream media is mad is because they don't have a complete monopoly on the flow of information. During this election, the internet and social media played a ridiculously huge role, unlike ever before. Of course, we had the internet during the other elections, the Obama elections, but never before has social media and the internet played a big role. And that's important because before the internet and social media, all you had were newspapers, mainstream media outlets, and television, in which 5 or 6 corporations own, 90% of the flow of information on the radio, on TV, and on newspaper press. So they don't want people to know. They want people to think it's Russia. Russia did this. It was Trump. It was Alex Jones. It was InfoWars. It was Bernie Sanders supporters who are everybody's Russian if they don't agree with me. That's really a cover-up because they don't want people to understand that social media and the internet has evolved and given us the type of freedom from the information. 4 years ago, if you turn on CNN and you're hearing about Syria, all you know is what CNN is saying about Syria. You don't know anything else. Maybe you know what the New York Times is saying about Syria, what the Washington Post is saying about Syria, what Fox News is saying about Syria. There's no way to really know what's going on from a source there. But now you have people like Eva Bartlett, a lot of other people who are going against the mainstream narrative and saying, hey, I'm here, and none of this is the reality of what's happening here. So they had a complete flow on the information of how people understood foreign policy. They had a complete flow of the information on who were the real candidates and who were the candidates that didn't exist on a mainstream level. So whether you're left-leaning or right-leaning, a big Trump fanatic or somebody who hates Trump and think he's the worst thing in the world, the media doesn't want you to know how powerful you are. The media and politicians don't want you to know how great of a time this is because Donald Trump, whether you love him or hate him, he wasn't who they wanted. He wasn't who they crafted with the media and social media, so that's why they're freaking out. You've seen recently, Twitter has admitted in court that they censored 50+% of the DNC leaks hashtag, even though under 2% of the people that use the hashtag were linked to any accounts having anything to do with Russia. So they admitted to censoring Twitter during the election. Google I posted a picture earlier. The CEO of Google, which is now called Alphabet Inc. They did that to maybe throw people off the trail. You hear Alphabet. What's Alphabet? You saw in the emails, I believe, or just in mainstream press, that Alphabet Inc. was directly working with Hillary Clinton's campaign. And the chairman of Google, aka Alphabet, you saw him with a staff badge at Hillary Clinton's campaign. So when you see these lopsided reports all over Google, and when you see the super delegate count and the delegate count really confusing for Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton, it's not a coincidence. And the one maybe outlet that wasn't directly working with Hillary's campaign, even though they actually were, whatever her name was, Cheryl something, the COO of Facebook, it was in the emails being like, hey, let us know what we can do, huge Hillary fans. So you had all social media working, not completely working with the campaign, but definitely throwing a little bit of leeway towards one side, and they still lost. So you're seeing a complete freak out from the side. It's not because Russia has a big influence. I've done multiple videos debunking that, and I'm probably going to do a better one this week, really showing step by step how they lied about that for over a year and continue to use that as a cloud to, not let people understand how powerful they are and what a great time this is to be alive. But they're freaking out because the mainstream media doesn't have a monopoly on information. They can't control your mind. They can't control your votes. They can't control your consumerism anymore. Independent people can compete with the billionaires and the mega corporation, and that frustrates them. It has nothing to do with, Russia or Trump or Bernie Sanders. That's really just kind of a scapegoat for the fact that they're losing complete flow of information. And it's important. It shouldn't be a left or right topic. Kind of tilted the scales on all social media, and they're still losing. So they're going to try to tilt further and further and further and further, and they're going to use things like hate speech. They're going to use things like, radical people from either side as an excuse to try to keep tilting the scales of social media. Don't let it happen. Don't let them convince you that, Russia did all this stuff that they never did, and all of their ads that they're saying, oh, Russia ran all these ads. I mean, I reached more people in the video I did yesterday. From my couch, I reached more people than Russia did in 3 years. So tell me the real influence that they had. So that's the media. That's the untold story of what happened in the 2016 election. The media and social media has opened up the flow of information, allowed independent voices to get out there, and that's what the bigwigs don't want you to know. When it comes to celebrity culture, this is something that's been happening over the past 3, 4, 5 years, and I've seen it, is that celebrities, TV stars, sports stars, movie stars, they had almost a monopoly on fame. If you weren't a radio broadcaster, if you weren't a TV star, if you weren't, a bigwig who's on television shows and in movies, you weren't a celebrity. There was no such thing as a Kardashian per se. There was no such thing as a Vine star, or YouTube star, or a Facebook star, or an anomaly, or whatever. We didn't exist. Those type of things did not exist. And you have to understand the ego and the pampering that goes into somebody who got to live for the last 30, 40 years. That's why you find out, a lot of them were doing pedophilia and sexual assault because they were like gods. It's just like they were the only ones that were important. They were famous. They had a monopoly, almost a complete monopoly on fame and celebrity culture. They were the stars, and there was no other way to be a star unless you got onto the television. And you have, of course, reality shows kind of skewing that up a little bit. And in my opinion, a lot of people hate on reality shows. I don't watch them, but it's like they're doing what the movie stars do. It's like it's a fake scripted show, totally, but so is what the TV stars are doing. They're on there pretending to be other people, and you give them all this credit for being good at pretending to be other people. It's a very weird concept. It's cool. Much love and much respect to celebrities and actors and actresses. It's amazing, incredible art, but celebrities are getting more and more frustrated, and they don't want you to know that they're losing a monopoly on fame. I've seen a bunch of comedians and celebrities be like, oh, F these Vine stars, F these YouTube stars. They're jealous because they had to jump through a bunch of hoops. They had to do all this stuff, probably work very hard as well and go through a lot of struggles. But they're the bigwigs. And now you have, some like silly kid like Logan Paul or whoever who's, doing pranks, 6-second pranks on his phone, and now they're becoming more famous and more wealthy and more successful than the celebrities in the movies and on TV. So that's what the celebrities don't want you to know is, besides the Trump, Bernie Sanders, blah, 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 politics aside, celebrity culture is now opening up to the fact where you can be you could be a celebrity from your house. And to the average person, like someone like me who, didn't come from a well-connected family that could plug me on television and get me a record deal and whatnot, it's the greatest time to be alive ever. If you're from any neighborhood where you're not connected to Los Angeles or you don't live in New York City, it's the greatest time ever to be alive for any industry as an actor, actress, comedian, hip-hop artist, country singer. It's a brilliant, amazing time to be alive. The media doesn't want you to know because they never want you to know anything. They want to be the all-powerful. They want you to, oh my God, please pass that bill. I need your agenda. I need your political agenda. I need the conservative agenda. I need the liberal agenda. I need the progressive agenda, or else I can't do anything. It's not true. It's the greatest time to be alive ever. And celebrities, on top of just being completely one-sided, nasty, negative people about the president, I can only assume that they're a little bit frustrated and their ego's a little torn, is they're not that big of a deal as they used to be. Besides politics, the box offices were at a record low this summer because technology is advancing and people like shorter content. Even when I do long live streams like this, people say, Anomaly, keep it shorter. I know that I do these for the people who really want to listen and, dive deep with me, but that's why I do the short videos. That's why my other video, is going to hit 1 million views probably by tomorrow, and this one's going to hit 50, 60,000. I understand technology. I'm not a salty celebrity who's like, oh, I'm not as famous as I should be. I evolve with the times. I don't make excuses, but for celebrities who are constantly the only big deal and everything they did was a big deal, now they're receiving a lot of backlash. People are finding out who they are personally. 10 years ago, if you're a hip-hop artist or a country singer or a TV star, people, for the most part, like you based off your work, which is fine. I think that's totally great. But nowadays, you could be a hip-hop artist or, someone like me, and I knew this was going to happen even 5 years ago. People will like you for who you actually are. They're not just liking you for who you pretend to be in your songs or on TV. They can watch your interviews and they can watch your podcast and they can listen to you and be like, wow, not only is he an impressive speaker, not only is he a great actor and actress, or is he a good hip-hop artist, but he's a great person. An example of that is Logic. I wasn't a big fan of his music, but I saw who Logic, the rapper, was, and I was like, wow, what a smart, nice, kind, real good soul. And now I'm a bigger fan of his music. That's how technology increases. And for, people who have been pampered their whole lives and been told they're basically gods for pretending to be other people, it's a hard concept that now there's kids on their couches who are, more well-loved than them, and there's, Vine stars and YouTube stars and hip-hop artists. It's the culture, all cultures, the entertainment industry, the arts industry, the film industry, it's more wide open than ever, and celebrities in the media don't want you to know that because that's their stomping ground. Why would they want you to be more successful and more famous than them, and you to make more money than them when they have all these agents and managers and stuff, and I can come around or someone can come around with no manager, no agent, and keep 100% of every situation I get myself into until I take a step in another direction. It's the untold story of what's happened the last few years that they don't want you to know about. And movies and television are going to keep becoming less relevant. I mean, I'm sure TV will do well, but attention span is everything. In time, there's a lot of options. It's not like we just sit down and watch television and there's 11 channels. There's 800 channels on television, and then there's 8,000 people on YouTube, and there's Netflix, and there's Hulu. It's almost overwhelming. It's almost like to the point where it's not fun, where it's like, man, I don't know how to just relax anymore. But the movies aren't really, formatted for the new generation. I think they'll still do well. They'll have a niche market, and there's always a great time to watch a movie, but it's the untold story. Everything's evolving, and the media's not talking about it. Celebrities certainly won't talk about it, but I will. And to go all the way to the other side, now to talk about politics, regardless of who won the election, who lost the election, what Trump's agenda is, you feel if you're a liberal or conservative or Republican or Democrat or Green Party, you don't care. The untold story about politics is it's more wide open now than ever. And once again, they don't want you to know because whether you're conservative or you're progressive, it goes against their whole agenda of having a complete monopoly on the situation. You see people's true colors coming out. You see John McCain, who's campaigned on conservative values for 10 plus years, going against every value he's ever campaigned on because he probably never really cared. It wasn't about these things that they lied to us about. It was more about their complete control and the duopoly of, Democrats, Republicans just working together and pretending like staging this whole fight. So, middle class people just fight with each other and they blame, oh, it's these people, it's this race, it's this religion, blah, blah, blah. It's all a trap. But Bernie Sanders, whether he went back on it or not, some people think he's playing the long game, and that's up to interpretation. He went through the Democratic side and kind of busted through their whole operation, whether he purposely meant to or not. Who knows? But it happened. And now the Democratic Party and the DNC is in complete shambles because combined with the other two things I just said, that the fact that the media is evolving, the flow of information is evolving, the celebrity culture is collapsing and opening up to new people, they can't keep people. They can't have a monopoly on people's votes and flow of information. So the Democratic side is in shambles. Donna Brazil's even outing them now. Good for her. I'm sure she went back on her stuff because they yelled at her, whatever. Now on the Republican side, Donald Trump was a complete wrecking ball and continues to be a complete wrecking ball to the entire political establishment and especially to the RNC and the Republican. I read these articles. They're like, oh, George Bush says that both Bushes say that Trump's ruining the RNC. It's like, oh, well, is that supposed to convince me? Like, oh, wow, well, both Bushes said so I'm really worried now. No, he did what is okay and healthy for the American people. He destroyed a whole establishment of puppet politicians who take millions of dollars from pharmacy lobbyists and this lobbyist and that lobbyist. Trump is so rich and so wealthy and so arrogant in a sense that he doesn't care. He's stomping all over them. And to be honest, I don't mind it. It's not, oh, whoa, no, George Bush said that. Oh, Paul Ryan's upset. Oh my gosh. Like, wow, what a bad day for humanity. Not. So the untold story of 2016 politics into now that they certainly don't want people to know, especially the people who think this is like the worst time ever. They're like, oh my God, let's scream in the sky because like Hillary Clinton didn't win. Like, it's so bonkers to me. Even if you don't like Trump with every ounce of your body, which I suggest don't be that hateful towards anyone. I suggest going for a walk, drinking some water, or, focusing on what you love and becoming a part of the solution, maybe working with people in power to get things done, whatever. I don't understand how people don't see that this is the greatest time to be alive ever for politics. The Democratic establishment is collapsing. The Republican establishment is collapsing and evolving. So the media won't tell you about this. They're going to tell you about Trump. Oh, he poured too much fish food into the koi fish. Breaking news. What? Russia. They ran a few ads. They ran a $1 Trump Jesus ad to Bill O'Reilly fans, and I think that really makes a difference because it doesn't. Because anyone that works in digital strategy knows they've been lying about that for the last year. It's all a big distraction. They don't want you to know the political field is open more than ever. Regardless of how I feel based on their values and whatnot, yesterday or 2 days ago, a bunch of Bernie Sanders supporters who are, basically crowdfunded and, fueled based on email lists and whatnot by Our Revolution, they won a bunch of elections. And, regardless of how I feel about it or not, that's, a shift as far as ideologically and philosophically. That's a shift in the right direction of people challenging the establishment. Although I do think that the one woman who won, the transgender woman, was sponsored by Joe Biden or got a cosign from Joe Biden. So I don't know how anti-establishment she truly is. Haven't looked into it enough. / I don't really care. But this is the greatest time for freedom in politics. If Barack Obama could win and people have the racial factor, oh man, we had a black president in the United States of America. That's great. That's beautiful. Donald Trump won. Oh man, like this guy, anybody could be president. So you could be president. You could run for this. You could run for that. You can succeed in United States politics. This is the untold story. You're probably not going to hear anywhere else. They're not going to say it on Fox News. They're certainly not going to say it on CNN and MSNBC. They're not going to say it probably in New York Times or Washington Post. You're not going to see it in Breitbart. It's the philosophy, the spirituality, and the psychology and the reality of what changed not only with technology and communication that's been bubbling up, but with the 2016 election. It kind of just ramped up in every sort of way and magnified it. You have the media is at an all-time high. The flow of information is more free than ever. You can make your own platform. You can make your own news source. You can tell more truth than their complete control. The celebrity culture is crumbling, not only because they're a bunch of rapists apparently, but there's people with YouTube channels and cell phones that can now be famous. You don't have to apparently do whatever they did to get famous or be on that platform or that platform. You can do it on your own, and you can do it independently from an agency or from, the industry. I'm not in the industry per se. I've done almost everything on my own. I've barely signed any sort of situations that have anything to do. And politics is completely wide open. So all of these things, they play a huge role in what's happening now and what's going to come in the future. And I feel like nobody's talking about it. And that's my big, I won't even say beef, but that's why I try to be different is I see the news, I see politics, and everybody just screams and fights and say, if I don't get my way, the world's going to melt and it's a terrible time. And Trump's agenda, who cares about Trump's agenda? We're living in an era of complete, technology and media freedom and like AI, artificial intelligence, robots, and people are still worried about what bills are being signed, which are going to go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and they're probably never going to affect your personal life like everything I'm telling you is doing. So they do a lot of negativity, they do a lot of hating, they do a lot of politics as usual, and it's all a distraction from the fact that this is the greatest time to be alive ever. It's the freest time to be alive ever. It's the most empowering time for every person to be alive. If you have a cell phone, if you have a computer, which you do if you're watching this, you can do a lot more than you think you can. So, put your good energy, put your ideas and your power to use. The celebrity culture is wide open. Politics is wide open. And the media is wide open. And it's a beautiful thing, and no one's talking about it. Thank you so much for listening. Have an amazing week. And if you would like to donate to my news analysis, I'm going to put my link below. Also, I have a clothing line, dreamrare.com. A few people have picked up shirts and they sent me a picture of them. It's incredible. Thank you so much for supporting. More importantly, thank you for joining, listening, and considering liking, commenting, subscribing, or whatever it is. Sharing, especially the shares are big. The reach is enormous because people share. I don't run ads. I don't run Russian ads. I don't run American ads. Just all natural people showing love. So thank you so much again. Thank you for joining, and I'll be back with more stuff this week.